Hello, this is Jay Mitchell. We are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. First, we have, rather than try to understand the people they ostensibly represent, they continue to reject reality and blame Taylor Swift from BusinessInsider.com by Clorox, and that's a story about how the far right are blaming the GOP's biggest election losses on Taylor Swift. I think the problem is, people always look for excuses rather than take accountability. The thing is that you just can't. Everyone always wants an excuse. So, like people on the right they'll say, "Oh, we need more election integrity." Well, people on the left will say, "Oh, it's voter suppression," and they both were saying the same thing. Oh, we just need to blame ourselves, blame something else instead of our own failures, and that's why I think that's important for us to do. We need to take personal responsibility rather than blame other issues for our own failures, I would say. Then we have Moody's lowers outlook on U.S. debt to negative for FinancialTimes.com by 2,000th time its charm. And I said, surprised it took them this long. The U.S. hasn't been debt-free since the days of Jackson and Van Buren. So, the thing is that, there's always been this debt. It keeps on growing and growing. And if you knew someone who hadn't paid a debt off for over almost 200 years now, would you consider them to be a positive outlook? I would say no, and that's why I think this makes sense, but I'm surprised it took this long. Then we have breaking study proves that that belief in my enemy's political ideology is strongly correlated with being a dumb idiot from a sleeplek 68999, and that sources published by Inside Post. How could it be wrong? And I said, I'm just following the science, they say, completely ignoring that science can be just as agenda pushing as anything else. It's like, everyone wants the science to conform to all their social and political beliefs. Well, in reality, that's not how science works, You just use it for an agenda. Like, for COVID, they used it as an agenda, They said, oh, if you disagree with COVID at all, well, then you're downplaying COVID. They never accused anyone of overhyping COVID. It was only downplaying COVID. And that just goes to show you that the narrative was the one that was controlling the perception of COVID in regards to science, rather than science controlling the perception of the narrative, I would say. And it's kind of like that for most science today. It's just really just a circle jerk to push your agenda out there into the public, I would say, more so now than ever before. It's always kind of been somewhat like that, but now it really does seem like it's been more so that than ever before. Then we have, rather than, people can say different things, yet they can have the same meaning. I posted that, and I said, when a Republican says election integrity and a Democrat says voter suppression, it can sound like they're talking about different things, but the underlying meaning of each is the same. My side lost the election. I need to find an excuse to help bail them out, and whatever you guys can think of. So, that's the thing. It's all just a circle jerk. It's because everyone thinks they're entitled to everything, and sadly, that's not how life works. Life is cruel and unfair, and sometimes people need to realize that and take some personal responsibility and try and say, okay, we didn't win this time, but maybe we'll win next time. But no, they'll just try and find an excuse. Then we have Poland's pro-EU opposition parties reach coalition agreement from AlJazeera.com by Paton 13. And they said it looks like Poland may actually go out from under the authoritarians that were trying to copy Hungary's slide to autocracy. And I said Hungary is libertarian, but neither is the EU. And then Willpower69 says, you'd be hard-pressed to find any libertarian country. And I replied, that's a feature, not a bug. They don't want a country to be libertarian. The government increasingly, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that's why we see the governments always be authoritarian rather than libertarian, because I would argue that the concept of government is inherently authoritarian. Why can't people just govern themselves? That's my fault. That's my fault there. Let everyone discover themselves if they and do what they think is right, as long as they aren't hurting anyone else. Then we have watch California cops steal every penny from an innocent family from YouTube.com posted by 2000's Time of Charm, and it's a video from the Institute for Justice, and I would say that it's just why you can't trust the cops or any actors from the state, because they can inherently screw you over at any second. And that's not something that I personally care for, At least when they're non-state actors, they could be held accountable, maybe. But when they're state actors, they always find a way out of it, I think. Then we have 2023 South Carolina Libertarian Party presidential debate from 2000 Time of Charm. And, that looks cool. I didn't really have much to say on that, but yeah, it's good to see that the party is having nice open debates. Then we have how The Simpsons strangled itself into irrelevance from Reason, and I posted that, and I said, The Simpsons, like so much else in modern culture, got caught up in the Hollywood bubble. It's obvious now, like stuff like the West Wing story short from 2019, but you can see it start forming even back during the Golden Age. Sideshow Bob Roberts in 1994, for example, was really just mostly GOP bad jokes that wouldn't feel out of place in the red circles or today. Hell, Bart Simpson's Guide to Life, even less Republican and things not to be when you grow up, even that came out in 1993. Fuck the GOP, but you can only make GOP bad jokes for so long. At least they used to show on the left occasionally as well. Don't think you would see something like that, them doing something like that in modern Simpsons. So, that's the thing, Even shows I like more that I think are definitely better at sitting on both sides, like Family Guy or South Park, they are kind of in the Hollywood bubble increasingly now as too. And that just goes to show you that a show can only remain kind of subversive for so long before it echoes the very troops it came to mock in the first place. I meant tropes, not troops there, sorry. Then we have Tesla will sue you if you try to flip your low VIN Cybertruck from electric.co from Frosty Slawman. And I definitely think that's corporate authoritarianism. I think once you own a product, you should be able to control that product as much as you want, as long as, that's why I feel like with guns and cars and all that, because I think when you own a product, when they sell you something, it's no longer their product, it's your product. And that's something that I think that is very important, I would say. Then we have, there seems to be a lot of misinformation around the boycott. So here's the official list. The point of a boycott is to be targeted, and these companies are the most complicit. Avoid these companies. Don't worry about all the ridiculously long lists you see. And then they have a list of companies. The consumer boycott, and that's crossed from the Muslim subreddit by International Silver One. And the companies listed, they have a consumer boycott targets. They have AXA, Puma, Carrefour, Siemens, HP, SodaStream, Remax, Ahava, and I forget the other one. Boycott Israeli goods. There it is. And then I don't know. I think the last one's just I don't know why they put that one in the consumer boycott targets. Maybe they should put that somewhere else, because I don't know if boycott Israeli goods is I think that's what they want to do rather than not what they want to do. We have divestment targets: Elbit Systems, JCB, HD Hyundai, CAF, Volvo, CAT, Chevron, Barclays, TKH Security, and HIK Vision. We have pressure non-boycott targets: Google, Amazon, Airbnb, Booking.com, Expedia, and Disney. And organic boycott targets: Domino's Pizza, McDonald's Pizza, Papa John's, Burger King, and Wix. I don't know how much of this I use. I think I use Wix for my campaign websites, but other than that, I think I use Google. I use Chrome. I'm reading this on Chrome right now, so I guess that's another one. But yeah, I think if you want to boycott, you should be able to boycott. But I don't think you should force people to boycott if they don't want to, because I don't think that's I think people should have the choice to boycott or what they want to, as long as they aren't forcing other people to boycott, and just people can boycott on their own accord. Then we have Mass arbitration attack could bring Intuit to its knees from pluralistic.net by Frosty Slawman. And I definitely don't think that's good. You shouldn't be attacking people when they aren't violating the NAP, so I don't think you should be. I definitely don't think this is good. Then we have, on day one, instantly fire 50% of federal bureaucrats. Here's how. If your SSN ends in an odd number, you're fired. That downsizes government by half. Absolutely nothing will break as a result. It doesn't violate civil service rules because mass layoffs are exempt from Vivek Ramaswamy on Twitter. And I posted that and I said, I'll believe when I see it. Until then, it's just posturing. I personally, I don't care. I personally think Vivek Ramaswamy, as I said, I think he's more of a stabby in the back and stabby in the front candidate. But that means, but it's not. I personally think it is nice to see actual libertarian small government rhetoric from a GOP candidate. With that being said, I do think we should be getting rid of half of the Minister of State, as he says. Probably more than that, I would say. But at least he's trying to appeal to libertarians rather than someone like Nikki Haley, who's flat out said she'll be a classic George W. Bush style neocon. That's my thoughts there. Then we have the Endangered Species Act at 50 from Reason by 2000 from Time of Charm. And I'm not going to read too much into that, but yeah, I think that's probably, the government thinks it can just pass acts that sound good, like, oh, it's the Inflation Reduction Act, oh, it's the Endangered Species Act, and then they'll help people, but that they're really just giving the government more power to do it at once, and that's why I personally don't care for any law whatsoever, even if it wouldn't be, because they're all just, it's all just kind of government justifying its own power and giving itself more power. Then we have the problem of inequality from YouTube.com by 2000 Shine Charm, and that's a video from Anthony Davies. And yeah, I definitely think there is going to be inequality, but sadly, that's just the fact of life. You can't when you try and make everyone equal. The communism and socialism has shown us that doesn't really work out a lot of the time, and you just end up with a very authoritarian government. So that's why I think sometimes life will be unequal, and you just have to cope with it, and that's how life is going to be sometimes, I would say. Then we have all gun control laws are infringements from LP National on Twitter, and I posted that and I said, all laws are infringements, I would say, though in the case of NAP violations, they can be more justifiable. And you definitely see that when it comes to stuff like gun control laws. That's the thing, is that all laws are inherently going to benefit the government and not you. And that's why we shouldn't be justifying any laws, I would say, even if it's something maybe once for NAP violations. But even then, you should be able to, I think, it might be better to rely on yourself or than the government when it comes to those, Like if you're afraid of getting hurt, or you can either do self-defense or run away, and that's something that I think we need to look into rather than just having the government come on to to police the streets and all that and force its will on people. Then we have 40% of unsheltered people were employed from End Homelessness.org by Frosty Slawman, and that just goes. And I think that just goes how to show you how life can be unfair, and how sometimes you'll be able to be having a job, and you still won't be able to have a house, and that's just how life's unfair like that. And sometimes there's nothing you can do but cope. Then we have Capitol Rioter plans 2024 run as a Libertarian candidate in Arizona's 8th Congressional District from apnews.com, and I posted that and I said, might be a fed to make the party look bad. Though then again, the party itself might just be federal entrapment at this point, for all I know. So who knows? Then we have very bad news. The European Parliament and member states just reached an agreement on introducing the digital identity / hashtag EID. Now that we have a digital identity wallet, we have to put in something. So just a connection between hashtag CBDC and EID from Rob Bruce on Twitter, and I posted that. And I said, another example of the Chineseification of the West when it comes to the social credit system. And I think we're going to wrap up there. I'll see you guys next episode. Bye.